Hey, so I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer, no longer quivering. Fame, well, not fame, no longer quivering. I used to write it. Now I no longer do that. I'm working on personal projects, I'm working on books. I have something hard to say today, and it's not a nice thing I'm going to have to talk about today, but it has come up and I have to address it. I have to address it publicly. Okay, no longer quivering was started by Vyckie Garrison. Vyckie did an amazing, outrageous thing. She shined a flashlight, a beam on the problems of the Quiverful movement, which is a movement and part of evangelicalism that says that women have as many children as they can, regardless of what it does to their health. Vyckie was told that many times not to have more children, and she did. Vyckie started No Longer Quivering. Like I said, it was a courageous, brave act. And 10 years ago, she turned it over to me, Suzanne Titkemeyer, to write and to do everything while because she had health issues. I've known Vyckie for quite some time, and Vyckie and I have been friends. Today, something that went down that I have, well, actually, it was yesterday, something went down that I have to talk about. I talked about it on Facebook a little bit this morning. I'm going to talk about it in more detail right now. It's one of those unpleasant things, but I would rather be open and above board. I'm not like Katie Joy. I believe in transparency all the way around. Okay. My husband has been urging me for ages to talk about my relationship with Vyckie after I had to distance myself from her about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. When I met Vyckie, we were pretty good friends there for quite a while. But from the beginning, there were some things that went down that just weren't right. She told me she was coming to visit me for a week. She came and showed up for 2 days and then went off with some guy, cheating on her boyfriend in Nebraska. I didn't say anything at the time. Did it one more time to us. And a couple things happened like that. There were incidents in the time that I knew her where I would be shipped a book to do a review. I would read it and do a review. And when she showed up to visit me, she'd say, "Hey, where's that book?" And I'd say, "Here it is." And she would take it. I mean, just little things. And shortly before I came on board with NLQ, she had run a fundraiser to start the Take Heart project. Never got off the ground. Nobody knows what happened to the money. And that is the thing that made me start backing away from Vyckie. While I was really grateful for what she'd done for NLQ and the stuff she'd exposed, I was not so happy about some of her personal behavior. About 5 or 6 years ago, I discovered from people contacting me, like Cindy Kunsman and others, that Vyckie had taken in a lot of money for the Take Heart project and various things, and nobody knows what happened to the money. It was never accounted for. Nobody knows. I was really embarrassed because I sought from the beginning with No Longer Quivering to have some uh, to have some integrity. So this was really a challenge for me when people started telling me they'd given all these large sums of money and she'd just not used them for what she'd raised the money for. It was particularly galling because I had done a fundraiser for her when she asked because she said she was going to lose her house. Raised $22,000. She never once thanked me for this, even though it was, beating the drums. It was some work. It wasn't an automatic thing to raise $22,000. She didn't thank me, not once. And she actually complained to me that she was going to have to pay taxes on this money I'd managed to raise for her. It was pretty tense. I didn't say anything at the time. And that's one thing between Katie Joy and Vyckie I've learned. Don't ever let people run over your boundaries. I did, and I'm regretting it now with both of them. So about 2 or 3 years ago, Vyckie pops up and tells me that she's divorcing her husband. This is the same husband that both Cindy Kunsman and I and others had asked her not to marry because she told us he'd been abusive to her before they got married, but she married him anyway. So now she was claiming abuse and she wanted money for a divorce. She wanted me to fundraise for her again. This time I refused. I said, "No, absolutely not. I'm not fundraising for you. Good luck." And I pretty much scrubbed her from NLQ between that and between finding out that she'd taken all the money for the Take Heart project and not done anything with it that anybody could find. I decided I was done at that point. The best thing I could do is separate NLQ completely from Vyckie as much as possible. So I did. And I didn't hear much from Vyckie until last year when she PM'd me and said she wanted NLQ back. What is there to have back? If I had turned NLQ back over to her, I don't believe she's stable enough to run it because she has just proven through the time that I've known her that she's not necessarily the most stable person with her life. She just goes here, 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 and does all these different things, and it's a changing story all the time. Let me put my hand up so I don't get flagged by Katie Joy because my husband's showing his naked top. Thank God, not his naked bottom. I would really be in trouble. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jim. Sorry. So anyway, long story short, she asked me a year ago. She said she needed money desperately. I said no. I was not turning NLQ over to her. This is before I even dreamed that I was going to give it up. When I was starting to just think about it a little bit, I didn't offer it to her in the wake of giving it up. I offered it to a couple other people, but I did not offer it to Vyckie. Fast forward about a month ago, a little less than a month ago, Vyckie upped and moved to Albania. No explanation, no nothing. She just moved to Albania. Well, you know my thoughts on that. Bully for her, but I think she had so much confirmation bias going on about what Albania was going to be like. She's ignoring any and all common sense about it and is saying that the State Department's recommendations on their pages are wrong. I don't know much, but I know the State Department travel pages are usually pretty accurate, and that's what I use when I go different places. Like I said, I've lived overseas before. This is not my first time to do that. I've lived in Germany, Turkey, different places, and it is what it is. Like in Turkey, they tell you, do not stop to pick up hitchhikers by the side of the road, beautiful women hitchhikers, because they'll beat you up and take your car. There have been some things like that that have happened. So I think that that's a pretty fair. And I'm going to urge all of you, before you travel internationally, look at the State Department pages. Just look at them and make your determination from there, whether you're going to go there or not, because they're pretty much on the money every time. So I didn't understand her move. I tried to talk to her a little bit about it, and she was just not having it. She was just like, no, free healthcare, this, that, the other. And I'm saying, you're going to lose your SSI, blah, 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 because I can tell you from my own move overseas almost 4 years ago, this is not an easy task. When you move overseas, I'm starting to talk about this in the book that I'm writing and on this particular website. It's difficult at best. And that's when you're moving to some place like Costa Rica that loves having Americans. There's cultural differences that are very difficult to navigate, particularly in a place where they have nothing but red tape. Whereas in the States, you can walk in the bank, do this and that, the other, and be out of there. Costa Rica is a little bit different. You may have to jump through that hoop 50,000 times just to get a bank account that would allow me to transfer my funds in. I had to give them copies of 3 years of tax records. I had to give them a copy of my taxes. I had to give them copies of my bank account, copies of my brokerage accounts, all kinds of things before I could open the account that would let me transfer money from the States to here. They're trying to keep drug runners out and people that come here to sell and buy drugs. I understand why they're doing it, but they make it hard. So I tried to talk to her and she blew me off. Well, 3 or 4 days ago, I noticed that she was going on all of it is crazy. I agree with you. It is crazy. It's crazy. I'm not sure what's going on with Vyckie, why she'd move there to Albania, except maybe I think that there's no extradition between the U.S. and Albania. That might be a thing. She might just be in such a situation that she's running. I can't really tell because I don't talk to her much anymore because of the money thing. So 3 or 4 days ago, I noticed she was posting on the Facebook NLQ pages, a ton of them she's put up. She was posting pictures of Albania and talking about her Albanian experience. Like I said, I have tried my damnedest to keep NLQ with some honesty and integrity, and allowing her to post her journey on NLQ doesn't fit at all. The NLQ Facebook page, and no longer Quivering Facebook page, the main one, The main purpose was to foster community and to promote the posts on NLQ, on Pathos, on the Pathos column, not to promote anybody's thing. I never put anything up on there about my moving, not at all. I may have referred to it occasionally in a piece I've written, but it's not a travel log. It's not an appropriate place. So what I did was I said, well, NLQ is done. So what I'll do is I will just take down the Facebook page. I'll just take it down. I did. I took down the NLQ page. And when I looked again, every NLQ page that I had been an administrator on or whatever that Vyckie put me on, I was suddenly not a member. So I said, big deal. So I'm not a member on these other ones. A man should take the main one down. We're golden. We can just pretend this didn't happen. We don't have to talk to Vyckie about it. We don't have to talk to anybody about it. We're just going to go with it the way it is. Well, last night, I come back from this lovely dinner at the Mediterranean restaurant in Brasilito, overlooking the ocean. And I discovered that Vyckie has restored the main, no longer Quivering Facebook page, and she's removed me and blocked me from it without a word. She has completely taken me off there. So I kind of saw red. So this morning I had to write and talk about that. And in the course of talking about her attempts to get money and run all these fundraisers and misuse money, after I wrote it, I got contacted left and right by people involved with NLQ who were like fans or maybe even some of the writers that all contacted me and told me that Vyckie had been asking them for money. So we have Vyckie here trying to work everybody over for money. I know she's on SSI disability, but let me just say, we are not here to fund her lifestyle. She needs to find a job and do something. Teach English to the Chinese. Most of the people I know here that work, that's what they do. It allows them to make a good income via the internet. I don't do anything here. I'm mostly retired now. I write my books. I quilt. That's about it. And that's about all you're ever going to see. And you won't ever find me begging for money. But I'm getting the feeling from everything that's going on that Vyckie is getting ready to try to game the system and make more money. She's going to beg for money. She's begging everybody from Pathos that she knows for money. She's been begging various fans for money. Please do not feed her. Do not. Because it's like pouring money down a rat hole. She doesn't know how to handle money. She doesn't have any idea how to be an adult. And that's really sad. I'm sorry to have lost my friendship with her, but at the same time, it's just like Katie Joy. I cannot allow somebody else to exploit me for money. That is just not me. Or to exploit me for hits and things. And while all this is going on, of course, we've got Katie Joy doing her thing last night, threatening various people again, apparently attempting to hack Michael Saltz, who is Tati Westbrook's lawyer, which is the dumbest of the dumb moves you could make. He has receipts. He showed us the email that the hackers were coming off of, which it happens to be her email. There were dozens of very stupid trolls that were either her or some big fan of hers. So right now, not only am I dealing with, Katie Joy trying to say I'm making $50,000 a month selling stories to the tabloids, which is not true, by the way, but she has said that about me a number of times, along with the other false things. So I have her ranting about me. I'm in this thing with Vyckie. I don't like it. I'm going to go radio silent on everything except moving to Costa Rica from now on, because this has just gotten way too stupid and way too vile. And I would say the two of them are probably malingering so that they don't have to work. This is how they get out around working. They get money off of other people. With Katie Joy, I want to admit one thing. She was saying that she'd been asked on the Dr. Phil. No, not smart at all. She was saying she'd been approached by the Dr. Phil show this week. I know that for a fact to be true. Why? Because I turned her in thrice to the Dr. Phil show, and I am not the only one. There are a pile of us that have contacted the Dr. Phil show and said, you've got to look at this ridiculous woman and her ridiculous things she's saying and the stuff she's doing. I was reminded of Truthfully Trish because he did a show on that, and that was pretty interesting. And I felt like, at least this way, maybe we would be able to force Katie Joy into some kind of mental health treatment, which she seems like she desperately needs. Now, all these are just my opinions. They're not hard and cold facts, except what I can prove. So, this is just my opinion. This is what's been going on behind the scenes, and it's stressing me out, girl. I just want peace, love. But yeah, so I'm just cutting another person off in my life. I like my life. I'm going to continue talking about being an expat in Costa Rica because as I was talking today with a realtor friend of mine, there are so many things here that none of the books cover. Um, yeah, I am trying to take care of myself, and I've got asthma today real bad because I went to church where nobody masks, and that was a mess. So yeah, but this has all propelled me into another book anyway. I've got like three or four I'm going all at the same time, and I have one being edited right now. So I'm going to keep doing the Costa Rican thing because everybody who moves here, this is a wonderful place. It's a wonderful place to live. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's wonderful food. There's animals. For me, that is the big thing about moving here. I love having 4 foot long iguanas in my yard that will stop and bob their heads to say, "Hey, how you doing?" I like looking up in my sewing room and seeing monkeys in the tree. I like it when the mama monkeys bring their little babies in the strangler fig in our yard and they all take a nap. That's just adorable. I just love animals. I love parrots. I get to see parrots from this window where I'm sitting. I've got a window in front of me, looks right onto a bunch of grapefruit trees, and the parrots routinely raid the grapefruit trees. So it's a good thing for me. But at the same time, they're not. Oh, there you are. I've got another bird up there. At the same time, most of the books about Costa Rica aren't very accurate. They aren't very accurate in that they will tell you, oh, all you have to do is come here. That's not quite it. Like today, I interviewed one of the realtors to verify some information about mortgages here. Did you know that as an American, you cannot come here and get a mortgage unless you are a resident? And even then, it's very difficult to qualify for it. Do you hear that? Those are great kiskadees. They're right there, right in the window with me trying to raid the berries off the birds of paradise. They are wonderful birds. They're pretty big and yellow. So I'm carrying on for all of that. I'm carrying on with all of that. You can't get a mortgage here if you're a gringo. So that's the sort of thing that I'm going to do now. I'm going to concentrate on that. 10 years with no longer quivering was plenty. I have said everything there is possibly ever to say about the quiverful movement, the evangelicals, or the fundamentalists. And I keep seeing this same garbage with them happening everywhere. I'm watching it happen right here in Costa Rica with a pile of the churches that one day I'm going to talk about that too, because it's evil and wicked. And you just cannot deal with that. And I've got birds in the bird water trough. I better go. I got to fill it. They're looking at me like, make with the water, lady. So I'm going to make with the water. I love you guys. I just had to rant and clear that up because it's just too wicked and evil. Some of the things people are doing. Don't give Vyckie money. That's her next. And I predict, here's what I predict. Within the next 3 months, we're going to see a fundraiser from Vyckie Garrison asking for money to go back to the United States. I guarantee it because she doesn't understand culture. She doesn't understand the realities of moving to another country that you don't know. Before I moved here, I'd done a ton of research. I'd been here again and again and again. Hey, birds from everybody. Okay. So you guys have a great day. I'm going to get in the pool and try to blow this off and have a glass of wine.